What is going on, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, Simply Pops here, back at it again with another video, and today we're gonna be ranking the best iPhone to the worst iPhone. And honestly, in my opinion, all the iPhones are great, fantastic, but there's some iPhones that's just my least favorite, and then there's some iPhones that's just my personal favorite. We have the iPhone 2G. Now this is the first ever iPhone. Steve Jobs, he came up on stage, and this is a widescreen iPod. You can make phone calls, but the material of it was scratching easy. It doesn't have a flash. You couldn't record no video. You couldn't install no apps. But at the time, 2007, this was pretty big. All screen design, just a single home button just to get back home, having the gestures, pinch the zoom. It was revolutionary. But the headphones, you couldn't use regular headphones. It was certain problems with it, but I'm gonna give it an A. It was a great step, and it really defines the future of phones. And we gotta thank Steve Jobs. Even with the Galaxies and the Samsung and the Androids, we gotta thank Steve Jobs for the original iPhone. The iPhone 2G, in my opinion, gets an A. It doesn't get a super because of those, slight problems, scratching, and no flash and no video. Not even a video. You couldn't even take no video. The headphones were just recessed in there. So I'm gonna give it an A. Solid A. Now the iPhone 3G, yet again, you have some scratches in the back. It was a glossy plastic finish, which is un-Apple-like today, but I never had the iPhone 3G, but it was a spec improvement. This is the first iPhone to have 3G capabilities, but other than that, it wasn't really much change. But overall, the 3G wasn't really a big improvement. It was speed and 3G. That was it, and the plastic design to bring down the cost, which is a nice touch, but if you had an iPhone 2G, you may as well just keep that one. Now the 3GS was the first iPhone to feature video recording capabilities, but it was pretty much exactly the same as a 3G. The S stands for speed. Phil Schiller came up on stage saying that. It's the same material. You have video recording this time, and it was okay. It was a moderate upgrade. Now the iPhone 4 came around. This was revolutionary, man. But one thing that stops it from going here is just because AntennaGate. AntennaGate was pretty horrible. My brother had the iPhone 4, and Apple gave away some bumper cases to help with the reception of the iPhone 4. And think about it: if you hold the phone wrong, you get lower signal, and it degrades the speed. And yeah, so I'm gonna give it an A. I love the design. I love the stainless steel. It was ahead of its time. First iPhone with flash. It was pretty cool, and the camera was nice and flush. The iPhone 4 is easily one of my favorite iPhone design, and that leads me, the iPhone 4S didn't really bring that much change. It did fix the AntennaGate issue, and it did introduce Siri for the first time, and it was my first ever iPhone that I activated. I was with Sprint. I'm still with Sprint to this day, and I will give the iPhone 4S easily a super grade, a super S, because it fixed the AntennaGate. The design is perfect, and yeah, no complaints with the iPhone 4S. Although the screen was a little bit small, 2011, that was kind of small to be in 2011. Then we have the iPhone 5. I almost said 5C. You had the iPhone 5. The iPhone 5. If you have an iPhone 4S, it wasn't really big of an upgrade. You did have a screen jump, so instead of a 3.5 inch, you have a 4-inch display, which was pretty good, but still was still small for some. If you picked up the black, the space gray, you might have some scuffing issues and stuff like that. I didn't pick up an iPhone 5, but a lot of people was a fan of the design of the iPhone 5 than the 4. Me personally, I still love the iPhone 4, ahead of its time, especially in 2011. But the iPhone 5, honestly, I'm going to give it an A, but that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people love the iPhone 5, and I'm still giving it an A. It's still good. The 5C and the 5S, I'm going to give the iPhone 5C a D, just because honestly the plastic design was just I mean, the colors was appealing, but it only came with 8 gigabytes of internal storage. You was better off getting the 5S, which leads me, I'm giving the iPhone 5S an S. It was the first iPhone to feature a fingerprint scanner, which was revolutionary. It's just a standard in today's smartphone. I know nowadays you have Face ID and you have fingerprints underneath the display, but it did fix the it also fixed the black color, the space gray, so it's a little bit more lighter to prevent it from scuffing and stuff like that. Now the iPhone 6 Plus, now finally we get an increase in size on the iPhone, but the 6 Plus, in my opinion, guys, this is gonna be a shocker to some of you guys. I'm gonna give it, honestly, the Plus model, I'm gonna give it a C. The reason why I'm giving the iPhone 6 Plus a C is just because of Bendgate, and honestly I just was not a fan of that design. I didn't like the antenna lines, the camera was popping out, like you had this was the first iPhone to have a camera protrusion. I just did not like the iPhone 6 design. It was pretty ugly, although it was nice and thin. Just was not a fan of the iPhone 6 Plus design, but I did appreciate the larger display, the 5.5 inch Retina HD display. I love that a lot. And getting into the iPhone 6, I'm going to give it a D. I know it was a 4.7 inch display coming from an iPhone 5S 4 inch. It just wasn't enough of an upgrade. It just was not enough. I mean, it was slightly faster, but it wasn't nothing else new other than the displays. It just, that was it. And honestly, it was a more uglier design if you ask me. That's just my opinion. The iPhone 6 gets a D, the 6 Plus gets a C, just because of the screen size. I'm giving the Plus model a 1 up. Now the iPhone 6 and the 6S Plus, wait, did I say that wrong? The iPhone 6S Plus and the iPhone 6S. Now the 6S, only thing that brought new was the 3D touch functionality. You did have a 4K camera, which is pretty cool. The rose gold color was new, and the material, Apple made it stronger, so it prevented from bending. But honestly, guys, the 6S, if you had the iPhone 6, it just didn't really make sense to get a 6S because it's just not worth that upgrade. It's just not worth that trouble of even upgrading it. But I appreciate Apple for upgrading the material, and I do love the rose gold color even to this day. One of my favorite iPhone colors, honestly. Space gray and rose gold is like right there, and even the gold. I like all the Apple iPhone or the iPad colors. I really do. But you know what? I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C, and then I'm gonna give the 6S Plus a B. And like I said, I'm always gonna give the Plus models a 1 up, just because, like I said, if you had an iPhone 6 and you want to get the 6S Plus, that was your upgrade. That was your time. But a lot of people was waiting for the iPhone 7. A lot of people was praising the iPhone 7, brand new design, and we got this. Pretty much exactly the same. You know, Apple did change the antenna band, so it's wrapping around the corners and stuff like that, but it still looks so similar. And honestly, if you get in the iPhone 7, it just didn't really make sense. You was better off getting the iPhone 7 Plus because of the dual camera setup and the portrait mode. But honestly, I'm gonna give the iPhone 7 a D, and the reason being is because this is the first Apple device, the first iPhone to get rid of the headphone jack, man. Although you did had some new features, it just wasn't enough to justify the upgrade. You did you got the water resistance, which is pretty cool. You did have the stereo speakers, you do have the brand new home button, but other than that, it just wasn't enough. You get what I'm saying? It just wasn't enough to justify that upgrade price. Now the 7 Plus, I'm gonna give it a C. Or matter of fact, I'm gonna give it a B. This was the first iPhone to have dual cameras, that's one, and it has the portrait mode, you know, but still, it's still the same thing. It's still the same design, the same face. I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give the 7 Plus a C. By the way, you guys, I wasn't sure if I should do a face cam for this. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna do more of these kind of videos where I might rank the Call of Duties or rank the iPads, the best iPads. If you guys want to see a face cam, just let me know down in the comments. But next up, we have the iPhone 10, the iPhone 8, and the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, the iPhone 10, guys, I have the iPhone 10 currently right now. I'm gonna give it an S. There was really nothing really wrong with the iPhone 10 away from the price tag, that hefty $1,000 price tag, but there was just nothing wrong with that phone. The glass back material, you had wireless charging, brand new all screen design, first time having the notch on the iPhone. This was revolutionary, and I think it was a great way to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of iPhone. A lot of people still calling this the X, by the way. It's it's the 10, guys. It's the 10. There's nothing wrong with it. It's still going strong to this day. The OLED didn't burn in. There's just nothing wrong with that with the iPhone 10. Now the iPhone 8 and the 8 Plus, you know, if you love the classic iPhones, this is your time to get it, because Apple is only going to go forward from here. And the fact how the iPhone 8 is having the A11 Bionic chip, so it's going to have that support for a long period of time. You know, if you want that home button, this is your time to get it. Now, honestly, I would give the iPhone 8 an A. I appreciate Apple for bringing back the classic design, because they're going to go forward. You know, Apple could have just released the iPhone 10 and that was it. They could have did that, but they chose to give us the iPhone 8, and they wanted to end it out on a good note. Whoever wants the classic iPhone, there you have it. And actually, I'm going to give the iPhone 8 a B, and then I'm going to give the 8 Plus an A. You know, I always like the plus size iPhones. I feel like it's just more of an upgrade, you know, from the cameras to, you know, just a bigger immersive display. You get more pixels per inch. Yeah, it's a 1080p display versus a higher than 720p display. We have the iPhone SE. Now, Apple, yet again, they did it again. They've taken a classic design and just really, you know, make it more powerful. So this is pretty much an iPhone 6S in a iPhone 5S body. And like I said, I appreciate that. And it's sad to say that this thing might not be supported for iOS 13, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I would give the iPhone SE, honestly, it's nothing wrong with it. You know, it has the headphone jack. The camera is pretty cool. You do have live photos. You do have the rose gold color. I'm going to give it an S. I'm going to give it an S. It was cool to see Apple bring that design back. Even the iPhone 8, but that's to be expected. I mean, we just came from the iPhone 7, so yeah, I'm going to leave that as is. The iPhone XR and the iPhone XS. Now, the XR is the budget friendly, quote unquote. I'm going to give the iPhone XR, you know, the price is high at $750, but you do have a lot of, you know, different color options. The camera is pretty cool. You know, you could take portrait shots only of people, not object, which kind of lowers down the score a little bit. It's just, I don't know. I wish it did have a dual camera setup, but the iPhone 11R, the iPhone coming out this year, is gonna have a dual camera setup. They did get rid of 3D Touch. I love 3D Touch so much. Honestly, I'm gonna give the iPhone XR a C. You know, it's the price is a little high. They got rid of 3D Touch. It only has one camera. I guess it'll bring down the cost. Makes sense. I wish the price was a little bit lower, and especially seeing the OnePlus 7, it's just too high, man. The price was a little too savage for the XR. It should have been like maybe $600 or $500, even better. But $600, I think that's a more fair price. And really, that leads me to the iPhone XS and XS Max. You know, you're better off getting the iPhone XS Max. You know, save your money a little bit. Go with the XS at least, or even better yet, go with the Max. But the XS coming from the iPhone 10, this is just not really a big upgrade, man. You know, really, you're getting a new color and you just getting a better camera. You can change the bokeh effect. You know, you have some Cydia tweaks that you could do the same thing, but for the most part, guys, the XS is just a boring S upgrade. Every S model has some special feature. You know, the 4S we had, you know, Siri. The 3GS was speed. You know, it's the first S model, and it also had video too. Let's not forget, 3GS was the first iPhone to have video. And then the 5S had the fingerprint scanner for the first time. I feel like with the XS, it's not really an upgrade. I mean, it's just the camera upgrade and more faster in the color gold. So honestly, this is the worst upgrade. This is the worst XS. I would say the worst S upgrade in my opinion. It's just so basic. Honestly, I'm gonna give the XS. It's a little harsh to give it a D. I'm gonna give it a C, because they did so well with the iPhone 10 that how can you really do something better than that? You know, so I'm gonna give it a C. I think that's fair. And the XS Max, honestly, I'm gonna give it an A. But if you're coming from a regular iPhone like the 7 or the 6, the XS is probably a good upgrade, but I'm gonna give it a B. They still supplying us with the 5-watt power adapter. Just not really an exciting upgrade away from the screen if you're getting the Max. But let me just review my choices here and I'll be right back. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is my rankings. Okay, so we have the S category. Spending $1,000 on this, it's just not. If you're gonna get a XS, at least get the Max. You know, the Max is a slightly better upgrade. You know, 6.5. It's a 6.5 inch display versus a 5.8 inch display. And even the 10R is a 6.1 inch display, but it's an LCD, which leaves me $750. I'm gonna mark this down to a D. LCD, no 3D touch, slow charging out the box, and you can get a OnePlus phone for $670. It has OLED, bezel-less. Yeah, I'm giving the iPhone XR D. But that's just my opinion. Tweet me your list. I'm very curious to know. And honestly guys, I love every single iPhone that comes out, but this is just, if I had to rank anything, this is my ranking, honestly. Alright guys, that pretty much concludes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, I appreciate it with a thumbs up. Comment down below if you guys agree with me with my ranking list. Subscribe if you're new around here with notifications on. And also, I appreciate you guys help me hit 30,000 subscribers. The legacy continues, the videos continue. We're not stopping here no time soon.